So here on the Vinyl Guide today, we have perhaps one of the most enduring music legends of all time: singer, songwriter, frontman, ringleader, record producer, book author. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and now he's here on the Vinyl Guide. It's Mr. George Clinton. How are you today, George?
I've been defleed, de-ticked. I got my rabies shot, and I'm ready to bury the bone again. Just that's the dog in me. How you doing? I'm doing fine myself.
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Look, you've had an incredible first half of your career. We're really excited to see what you're going to do with the second. So I'm glad to hear you got that sort of energy and you're ready to go. So I know it's a long way to go from being a teenager in a doo-wop band in Plainfield, New Jersey, to being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and having the Smithsonian call and do a personal collection of your archives. How you feeling? Do you spend much time reflecting on your career these days?
Well, like you said, since we put the mothership in the Smithsonian, that made me have to reflect on the overall. I had already did it with the book, you know, Brothers Be Your Like George, Ain't That Funkin' Kind of Hard on You.
Hmm.
I had did that in conjunction with the mothership, at the Smithsonian. Also, to coincide with the album, first you got to shake the gate, all that together, all of it in the name of reinventing the brand, because of just now finishing paying $1,700,000 for what I call the Holy Grail, and that's One Nation Under a Groove and the Uncle Jam Wants You album, which was being, in the courts, so I had to pay to get my own album back. I'm just finishing paying that off, and this whole thing has been to reinvent myself while I'm getting ready to do the documentary on the whole story that what I've been fighting for.
Mm. Now, are those the missing pieces? Do you have the rest, or are there other albums that you're now going to start pursuing?
Rest of them, I'm doing the copyright recapture
Hmm.
on all of it, But I've been in court, fighting it for all this time. And the best I'm gonna do is do the copyright recapture on all of it, and then do the documentary on the whole story, because that's a story that that you can't even explain. People will not believe it, but we've got it chronologically archived, just for to be able to tell the story. Because we're getting the music back, whether I had to pay for it to get One Nation back, it's mine again. And Knee Deep the same way, which I call that the holy grail of all the sample music. And I couldn't let that, with the mothership being in the Smithsonian, out of respect for the music, I couldn't let that stay that way, with them being able to take it through this underground, method. So we fought hard, and we're getting it back and getting that back. We finishing paying for that within days,
Oh, wonderful! Well, congratulations.
and doing the documentary at the same time on the overall picture of the whole thing.
Mm.
And still the band's going strong with new music, a new Parliament album coming out real soon. Medicaid Fraud Dog.
When are we going to see that one?
About in middle of next year, after April.
April. Excellent. Looking forward
All
to
right.
that. That's going to be on the. Is that the one that you're releasing on the Brain Feeder label?
Not that one, but doing one of myself as a brain feeder. But a lot of them will be on the record. I
Mm.
did a movie with them, brain feeder, and I'm doing an album on George Clinton. But all of us becoming, very involved together. So I don't know exactly what label is going to be on, because I'm doing it myself. But
Hmm.
it's going to have all the same characters.
All right. Well, I imagine that documentary is going to be probably 10 to 12 hours with all the adventures you've been in, and hope.
Oh, it's got to be, in parts,
Hmm.
because there's one long story of the same people. That's, both that legal stuff, the illegal stuff. It's all the same people are still, in my life because of all of the sampling and the, and the same companies being involved in it, and it being such a big part of the whole hip hop industry. It's threaded together. It's threaded together like a quilt, and it's not convoluted. It's a good story to see, especially with the music in the background, the new music. I just did a record with Kendrick Lamar and Ice Cube. Ain't that funkin' kind of hard on you? And the video is out. It's a beautiful video, and it makes a good long story. Which I'm in the media, social media. I'm down with that. We tell the story all the time on the Periscopes. Do little skits, and we archive all those Periscopes.
Oh. Yeah, I imagine they'd have to release it in several parts. Your story is going to be like Star Wars, coming out every few years.
Okay, it definitely will.
the Phantom Funk, Revenge of the Lawyers.
Okay. Sir Nose is in the lawyer's house. He's in the law office. He's a lawyer.
A new dope.
Very.
So George, you jumped right into it in terms of talking about the Parliament and Funkadelic and a lot of that music that so many of us enjoy and hold dear. When you were in the middle of it, you had both bands going at the same time, Parliament and Funkadelic. They were on different labels, but using a lot of the same musicians. What sort of confusion did that make in your life, both legally and personally, when you were shifting back and forth between those two units?
Believe it or not, that was the easiest part of all of it, making the music and deciding who gets it and the labels, because we had a label, like Casablanca, Neil Bogart, who was a promotion man, who understood that I was a songwriter. I could do all kinds of music. I come from Motown. We got along very good, so we didn't run into any conflict, even though not only did I have Parliament and Funkadelic, I had Bootsy and the Brides, too, that weren't, on the Casablanca label. But we presented, I told him if he got me a mothership, I could do as much music as he needs, and he could get his first choice out of whatever came out. And that's the way we did it. We had no conflict over any of that. It was only, years later when you get to the 80s and people think your time is up and everybody started grabbing it and wanting to own it for historical reasons, that they start plotting. And you've been on, whatever trendy chemical substance that's available at the time, you being involved in that, you don't pay too much attention, but I paid enough attention to know that when I did clean up, nobody would believe it. And I'd be so far ahead of everybody believing because they expect you to immediately break down. And I've been on a straight mission, with my concept of that funkin' kind of hard on you. I was hard when I started. I'll be hard when I get through. And it's given me energy to, to be around and be a part of the new sounds that's coming out for hip hop. The Flying Lotus and the Brain Feeders, the Kendrick Lamar's, and all of those crews.
Mm-hmm.
It feels just like when Dre and them came out, it felt like a shot in the arm. Or with the East Coast, Rakim them, was out there. We felt that, okay, people are into the funk. And that, there's a big upsurge of gospel music that's into the beats and the feel of the funk. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of stuff inspired me to keep on my mission of getting all that stuff back into the hands of the people that wrote it, with the information how the songwrite recapture, the copyright recapturing of the albums. We're going into that. They're fighting us hard, trying to redefine the law because we have so much out there. But we're not giving up. That's part of the mission. So you'll see that in the documentary. Like you said, it's going to take a lot of parts for the documentary. But we're archiving the stories as we tell them.
Your career has gone through so many changes, and one of the most interesting twists is sampling. Now, are you the most sampled artist on the planet at this point?
Oh, without a doubt, because we went years past, James Brown, with the relevancy of those sample records and the reselling of those records and the resampling of the records by artists that already sampled it is continuing, even though they changed the name of the samples, and you have to sift through the copyright as to what the name of the sample is. Now you have to go through redefining it, but we've kept up even with the traces, the DNA of all of the samples that makes a story within itself, and you'll start seeing podcasts or YouTube channels with all P-Funk samples. You could do a show all day long and not have to repeat. You know what I'm saying? So all of it, that's becoming available information, especially the kids, as the kids are beginning to be a part of the P-Funk. They walk up to me, I'm 18 and I'm down with the funk. They feel important to know the history of the funk, which is what we always have tried, strive to do. Is the next generation that's coming along, see what they funking about and try to, get some of their influence in our music early.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a Disney, how the Disney Channel is. You can pretty much see where pop music is going to come from in the next 10 years. We pretty much pay attention to our grandkids. And with me, my great-grandkids, I listen to whatever they listen to.
Mm. And what new artists are you most impressed with these days?
Kendrick Lamar, Alabama Shake,
Oh, yeah.
Chance the Rapper. I knew him when he was children nowadays, and then when they had a band, when he was a band with his family. He's been phenomenal consistently, even under the different names. And it's a lot of YouTube. But Pharrell, you can't get around him. He's going to always be one of the greatest, producers around and stuff. And it's Flying Lotus, and like I said, they're one of the best sounding, new producing, jazzy type music, giving hip hop a new sound that, and respect, where it's not just P-Funk sample or James Brown sample, but you got jazz bands that's actually getting a chance to play their instruments and still be down with the hip hop sound. That's refreshing as hell. They're young enough to know what the sound of the field for their generation, and they're implementing, especially in that Hollywood Compton area.
Well, what do you think the future is for sampled music?
Well, if I have anything to do with it, I'm gonna when I get it back, I'm gonna make it available in quantity where the people can do it the way they could do it before without worrying about getting sued astronomically. Just make it a really easy to do, use of it, and it makes sense. Those trolls that was thinking it was gonna die and go away have gotten themselves into quicksand because they can't get out of it, and it's not going away. It's going to be classical music. It's going to be on Broadway, hip hop, and P-Funk is going to be there through each generation of it because we made an effort to be one nation under a groove with everything that come through.
And you took a very interesting stance from 8 years ago when many artists were busy with lawsuits and rejecting sampling as a concept, as an artistic statement altogether. You actually released a few volumes, I think a little bit of disc, a little bit of dat, allowing people to sample your material as long as they paid you a royalty from that.
Yeah, it's very small royalty that made sense. They didn't have to worry about being sued or come up with a whole lot of front money, but just got paid soon as they started getting paid. Mm-hmm. And that was the simplest way. We broke it up for them. They didn't have to worry about. But a lot of part of the hip hop early generation was jack the beat. That was part of the concept for a long time. So a lot of them got in trouble for, just being gangster, in their mind to jack the beat too. So the lawyers didn't do them no justice by telling them they could get away with that. And then probably wouldn't matter for the first one because they never thought the records was coming out anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it, kids, you just do what you do, and you figure it out later. And they did that, and luckily they did figure it out. The shit is all the way around the planet now.
Yeah.
Hip hop it's just the way it is, and music is free with the internet. You just have to find another way to participate, which I've seen that change 2 or 3 times, so it's no surprise to me that in this technological day that it jumped so far ahead that a lot of people wasn't ready for. You just not being able to just go out and sell a million records or steal 1 million records from somebody that got a hit. It's a whole new game out there now with the downloads and the streaming, and you have to figure out your way to participate in that.
So without, you don't have to reveal your business dealings, obviously, but has there been 1 or 2 samples or songs that that other artists have created and sampled your material that by royalties, by copyright, have purchased you a house?
The song "Let's Play House" would have purchased me a home, half a city, with all the samples that song has created for myself and my son, who wrote the major part of that song. But it was a part of the Humpty Dance by Digital Underground,
Mm-hmm.
and that song has been the foundation for so many hit records, and movies. You know what I'm saying? Happy Feet and all of, and so many that it bought me 1,000 houses, but I never collected that money, not to this day, and that's what we're fighting about right now. To just for that story, the story of my son never getting a penny of it at all.
So when you started getting involved with Dr. Dre, did he made the first call, or did you make the first call with that collaboration?
When they asked me to do the song with, I guess the first one would have been Snoop. Snoop, yeah, when we did Snoop. But the first thing, before he ever made the record with us, they asked us to use Uncle Jam's Army. They wanted to use that logo for the club. He was a DJ. Him and I think Battle Cat and somebody else. They was doing the same one they did in the movie Straight Outta Compton. That was one of the name of our songs. So we had connection with them because we were, just put out One Nation, Flash Like Knee Deep. And right during that time, we lived in Compton and Inglewood at the radio stations down there. So it was just part of that neighborhood. And when he called to do the Snoop one first, and then Tupac was the second one. And but I did so much at both of those that he was able to take parts out of it later. Because I did one for Warren G. Yeah, it was quite a few, and they did the same. He was on Paint the White House Black.
Mm-hmm.
He was on another one of my couple of my albums, both Ice Cube and Dre.
So did you make the master tapes available to them, like the individual soloed tracks, or?
No, well, not on Chronic. Chronic, they used the regular record and just rapped over top of that.
Mm.
But the other ones, we did it from scratch. Like Tupac, they had a pretty good comprehension of the move, the way we use it, and they put the track together just like we did One Nation. And I just went in there and did the same thing I would do on one of our sessions. The same with You Can't See Me. I just went off on my own from what Tupac was saying, and it flowed good together because it was the same vibe in that neighborhood. So all the way up to when Ice Cube did One Nation. It's a slower version of what we had done, but it was so easy doing it because it felt at home doing it. They called it G-Funk, but it was still P-Funk in my ears.
When it comes to collaboration, I mean, you've worked with, oh God, so many greats: Dre, Tupac, Kendrick Lamar, even Iggy Pop. What's your favorite collaboration so far, and what artist have you not collaborated with you'd like to one day?
Oh, well, Kurt Sly Stone is like, working with him, well, he brings so much out of you that, it's hard to even tell. But the ones that I would have liked to, work with was Rakim and Eminem. I tried to get them two together. I tried to get Sly and Rakim together. Those are some of my favorites that I didn't get a chance. I got a record out that I did with Prince called Brother Can You Paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm really proud of that song. And most people haven't had a chance to hear it. I'm going to re-release it, but it is one of my, one of the best things I did with him.
Is that on the Cinderella Theory?
No, this is on the album. Which album is? How late do you have to be before you are absent? That's
That just makes me laugh.
But brother, can you paradigm?
Mm-hmm.
Paradigm is the name. Paradigm is the name of the song. You can get it on YouTube. See it on YouTube.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that. So that's your favorite. That's your favorite musical memory, certainly of Prince. How much did you work with Prince?
Well, this first album he didn't do too much, but on the second album he was there on that one, and I did a record with him called Soul Psychedelicized that I'm just not seeing on YouTube a lot. That he played with for so long and never released it, but I'm hearing it, seeing it now. They done made a mashup version of the way he did it, and he had me do a version, which sound pretty interesting. But the second album, Hey Man Smell My Finger, yeah, we worked together, a lot on that. But he was, just like me. He stayed up all night working half the time, and I would do from the early morning to late.
Mm-hmm.
So we were always right across the hall from each other at Paisley Park. It 2 or 3 rooms in there, and he had his room decked out,
Mm-hmm.
with his pillows and parachutes, and I would be on the other side. It wasn't my room, but I kept it during the time that I was doing Smell My Finger, and I had a lot of the P-Funk coming in and out.
Yeah. So you guys were recording in the same Paisley Park facilities, different rooms, different ends of the building, but you'd perhaps meet in the middle at the Paisley Park kitchen for midnight cookies.
Always going to get them cookies and coffee. Oh, yep, forever.
And you also, and this, a lot of folks may not know this, but you produced the Chili Peppers, I think it's second album, Freaky Styley.
Freaky Styley, yeah.
That was, and personally, that was my entry point into the Chili Peppers. That's what made me stand up and pay attention. How did that collaboration come together?
Well, I was talking about in an interview that I thought that funk was going to go pop with some European group, the same way rock and roll had done in the 60s, coming with the English invasion. I thought funk was going to do that before it was catch on over here, pop. And Anthony and Flea, I saw them at some kind of convention. Then I was on the panel, and they saw me up there. And so Anthony asked me the question, why did the group have to come from? Why did the white group have to come from Europe? Because I thought it would be a white group from Europe. He said, why did they have to come from Europe? They could come from over here if you would produce us. I said, well, if you come out to my farm, I lived out on a farm in Michigan, we can work on that. And 3 weeks later, him and Flea showed up at the farm, and said, we want to work with you. And I said, what the hell? I'm gonna do nothing but sitting going to the studio when I did get out of there. And of course, they called Hillel and the drummer, not Chandler.
Jack Irons?
Jack. Cool. That's what it was. Jack. Yeah, because Jack was one that had turned them on to us in the first place. So they got out and they rehearsed, and we got the stuff together. They got a little video of us clowning around in the studio. I gave them their snuffleupaguses. That was their jock straps, because they would always wear socks that was too big for them. So I got them some elephant ears, with the trunk to use as jock straps, and we call them snuffleupaguses.
So you've always had this well-known reputation for outlandishness and absurdity. Where do you think that came from?
Okay, back and you said it before, back in the time with Iggy Pop and ourselves breaking out of the Motown mode, because it was peaking for us. We was concerned you couldn't get past the Temptation, so that was over. You wasn't getting no slicker than them and the Pips and the Four Tops. They had taken that to that peak. So it was time, as kids will do, to start being radical in the opposite direction. And we saw that real early, that it was going to be a really elementary style of music popping back in. Like in the 50s, it was bow, 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 that we took it that simple. And then right around 66, it started being it started being a place for that again. Everything was so slick. And we saw it coming, and we just went into Free Your Mind, Your Ass Will Follow. We saw Jimi Hendrix had already went completely out and made it jazz. Between him and Cream, they showed you how far you could go, and it hadn't even got started yet. So we just got right with the simplistic, the Grateful Dead, the Rolling Stone, and we played on that, really Bob Dylan type of monotone, friends, inquisitive friends, asking you what come over me, I want to testify. Mm-hmm. That was the sound of that era. Even the Four Tops, Bernadette, people out there. Even though it was really sophisticated with strings and stuff, it was the sound of that era. So we peeped it and said we can do it both the simplest way of all, just raw funk, which we basically did because the kids were just learning the instruments. Eddie Hazel and Billy Bass, Tiki, they were just starting to play. Usually had a backup band with the house horns and stuff. We just had a 5-piece backup band with Bernie Worrell and these kids, and we started off together. We went from Parliament into the Funkadelic sound. Like I said, Iggy Pop and all of us, Ted Nugent, the Amboy dudes, we always had the same same booking agency. So we knew that there was a basic new rock and roll coming on the scene. And we played the East Town and the Grandy, as Funkadelic, and we played the 20 Grand in the other place as Parliament, and we took the suits off and put the diapers on. We changed our sound until Bootsy and them come along, and we had a chance then with Fred Wesley and Maceo to do what Sly Stone and James Brown was doing, and Funkadelic and Parliament became the P-Funk movement, with Chocolate City, Up for the Downstroke. So we knew how to change as the time was changing.
You know what? I don't know if you ever thought about it this way, but if you live long enough, you're one of the few people on the planet who's actually going to go through 3 phases of your life where you were wearing diapers.
You got that right.
What was the decision like?
Doing...
What was the decision like the first time you said, you know what, I'm going to wear a diaper on stage tonight? What was?
that was the fun of Baby Huey. And so if you look at the album Osmium,
yeah,
on the back of that I had a diaper on that was made up of flag. You couldn't do that. That was that 60 protest stuff.
Yep.
And that's the diaper. Hey, you can't do that. But yeah, that was a Holiday and a sheet, a Holiday and towels. But like you said, then you get older, you're back in the diapers again.
It comes full circle. It's the circle of life, George.
I wanted to do the commercial for the pen. I got some cool ones.
It's not too. That could help you finish that documentary. Actually, you could square up that deal.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna use that. I started out in diapers. Get them in my midlife and back in them again, and still funking.
Yeah, the Smithsonian didn't ask for any of those, did they?
No, they didn't. I should have gave him a funky diaper.
So
but after we got the mothership, everybody wanted the shiny shit.
Yeah.
all those costumes they wore. Nobody asked for the sheet because I had a sheet that you could stand in the corner. The one that had the Roadrunner on it and the Coyote, you could stand it up.
Well, if they have Archie Bunker's chair in the Smithsonian, certainly they could have George Clinton's diaper. That's,
I
think
I might hit him with one of them in a plastic.
Yeah.
Put it right next to the mothership.
Yeah. Don't put a return address on it. They may come after you for that. How does that phone call go? Like the Smithsonian calls at some point and they say, Mr. Clinton, we're very interested in the mothership. Do you still have it? How does that dialogue go with the institution? Is
somebody that used to work for us. We had it in the studio, had it all lit up because we had it in storage before that. In the storage place that we had it, used to open it up on the weekends and plug it up and have a rave there in the warehouse that it was in. And people be in there dancing and the mothership would be going up and down, when we weren't working. So I took it back to the studio and had it plugged up. And this friend of mine asked, what you going to do with it? They're building a new wing of the Smithsonian African Americans. They're interested in what you're going to do with it. And I was glad for it to be some place that was going to take care of it and respect what it meant. Because by then I already knew people were trying to do that unsung, the unsung history of the group. And when they do that, that's usually you're on your way out. And I was pissed off that I had to even do it, but I did it, but with the notion that I'm gonna make it look like bullshit because I tried to tell them what we were planning on doing. They have their format, so they did that. But I was so glad when the mothership ended up there, and we had the hip hop record with Kendrick Lamar out. The one with myself, ain't that funkin' kind of hard on you? Louis Vega, and nominated for a Grammy this year. We had it out last year, so I feel good that we reinvented ourselves, and I got the grandkids out there on the stage now and their friends, and the show is brand new.
So it was a big year for you last year, and for folks who may have missed the live shows, make sure you check out George's book. It's called Brothers Be Yo, like George, Ain't That Funkin' Hard on Ya? A memoir. Did I say that right?
Yo,
Okay.
brothers be yo like George, ain't that fucking kind of hard? Yep.
And that book is available from Amazon.com and any place fine books are sold or stolen. George, let me ask you this: do you still listen to vinyl records?
Every chance I get, even the one that we scratch at the house. I got one of them old big trollers that my wife like to play them on. But yes, I do. I like the warm needle sound when it's right. Yeah.
Do you still have copies of your old like the one like you did a 45 when you were 18, the doo-wop band, the Parliaments, on Poor Willie, I think.
Oh, you know what? I got a lot of those from the collectors in Amsterdam, who has in the Northern Soul people, the people that like. I got copies of that stuff recently that I don't even open up myself, but I get them every now and then. Somebody give me a complete catalog of the whole collection. I mean, even the stuff I did prior to Joe Betts, prior to Motown.
Do you have copies of like Osmium, like any of the first pressings of
Yeah,
those?
yeah. Not the first pressing. I have a couple of test pressings of other songs, especially, during the Atomic Dog time. Some of those 10 inches, 12 inches.
And how many like how big's your record collection?
I don't know. You lose count of it at certain point, but with this digital stuff, I got the clouds, I got the heavens filled up with music.
Okay, but it's made the move with you. We've spoken to a lot of artists where their records just get scattered to the wind, but it sounds like you've been able to keep your records throughout the years.
Yeah, but people, like I said, keep replenishing them when I lose them, because I was one of those people that would give them to somebody close, figure they'd take them, but then you realize see somebody with a nice collection all intact, then you get jealous. So you start keeping them when you get where I'm at 75 now. So yeah, it's kind of cute to look at them every now and then.
Well, it's part of your history, and again, it's just like the Smithsonian has your spaceship. You've got a record of all the different vinyl that you've made throughout your life. So it's good to have. Is there anything that's missing? Is there a piece out of your collection or a part of your musical history that there's a gap that you haven't been able to fill?
But like I said, all the recapturing of all of the masters that I've done for the record company, that terms is coming up right now, and I'm going through that phase of getting all those recaptured. That's my mission now, and is just started to come back. But like I said, these record companies, they're going to give me a somewhat of a problem, but that's not easy to do with this digital world. There's a hell of a digital footprint thumbprint that people know that it's mine. That I'm gonna get them.
You're getting the copyrights. How about the master tapes, like the 2-inch?
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, those.
That's
okay.
What I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm putting in for the master return of the masters. I just got the masters back, getting the masters back from One Nation and Uncle Jam Wants You, which was in a court case for the last 5 years. I've had to pay over $3 million to my ex-lawyer to get those back. I'm paying the last $40,000 in a matter of days, and that's going to be celebration time. Because I call that the like I said, the Holy Grail. That represents One Nation. That represents the whole mission that I've been fighting for. So being able to get that back in my possession is going to spark the journey of getting all the masters back. That's why I had to reinvent myself in the last 2 years.
So there's two things I've taken away from this conversation. Number one, George Clinton is going strong as ever and still putting out the good stuff, and he's got a lot of energy, and we look forward to years and years of more output, more documentaries, more music coming from George. The second thing I learned is my kids really need to study copyright law and become an attorney because it sounds like there's a lot of money in that.
Oh, believe me, that and with the digital world, yeah, that's got to be interpreted to a lot of people who don't even have a clue.
Intellectual property is a gold mine. So,
okay, man, got to go.
All right, George. Thank you very much. God bless, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, take care.
Cheers, mate.